Richard Blumenthal and Veitnam service, 5 fast facts you need to know. President Donald Trump on Thursday attacked Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal, saying that the senator lied about serving in Vietnam. 1. The New York Times reported in 2010 that Blumenthal lied about Vietnam service in a speech. With his tweets, President Trump is referring to a situation that unfolded during the 2010 U.S. Senate elections when Richard Blumenthal was running against Linda McMahon. In May 2010, the New York Times reported that Blumenthal said in a 2008 speech, "We have learned something important since the days that I served in Vietnam." But as the Times reported, Blumenthal did not actually serve in Vietnam, as he suggests there. Instead, he received 5 military deferments from 1965 to 1970. The Times also noted that Blumenthal took repeated steps to avoid going to Vietnam. Instead, Blumenthal served in the Marine Reserve beginning in 1970, joining a unit in Washington, and working on projects like fixing campgrounds and organizing toy drives. 2. He also reportedly talked in a 2003 speech about returning home from Vietnam. After the New York Times ran its story, journalists and political opponents immediately began searching for other examples of Blumenthal lying about his military service. One that came up was from 2003, when Blumenthal suggested in a speech that he was among those who returned home from Vietnam, according to The Day. Later, a post on the campaign website of Linda McMahon suggested that her opposition researchers had passed along tape of Blumenthal's 2008 speech to the New York Times, according to Politico. However, the New York Times said that they did not receive the video from McMahon. 3. Critics said the 2008 quote was taken out of context. After the New York Times reported on the 2008 speech, Politico reported that the article was missing some vital context, that Blumenthal had said towards the beginning of that same speech that he served in the military during the Vietnam era in the Marine Corps, which is an accurate characterization. In addition, The Day reported that after viewing years of Blumenthal speeches and political debates, they found that Blumenthal typically specified that his service was in the Marine Corps Reserve, not Vietnam, and in some instances he explicitly said he did not serve in Vietnam. On one such occasion reported by The Day, Blumenthal said during a Democratic primary debate, "Although I did not serve in Vietnam, I have seen firsthand the effects of military action." 4. Blumenthal said that he misspoke on a few occasions. Blumenthal responded to the controversy by saying that he did indeed misspeak on a few occasions, but denying that he intentionally lied about Vietnam service. "I may have misspoken. I did misspeak on a few occasions out of hundreds that I have attended in honor of the military. I regret that I misspoke," Blumenthal said during a press conference, according to Politico. He went on to say that he was unaware of those misplaced words when they were spoken. 5. He took a hit in the polls after the story, but still won the election easily. Richard Blumenthal had been ahead of Linda McMahon in the polls throughout much of the 2010 election cycle, but immediately after the Vietnam story broke, his lead over her began to shrink, as reported by Talking Points memo. At the time, a poll conducted before the New York Times published its report showed Blumenthal ahead of McMahon 52% to 39%. But in a poll conducted immediately after the scandal, Blumenthal was ahead of McMahon by just 3 points, 48% to 45%. Still, Blumenthal was able to bounce back from the controversy and easily win the election. He was elected with 55% of the vote compared to Linda McMahon's 43%.